This day in sports history. It's April 4th, and on this day in 1985, the Tulane men's basketball program was eliminated. Now, I'm not talking about taking a loss in the NCAA tournament. This was the dissolution of the program, firing the coaches, releasing the players from their scholarships, and saying sayonara to season ticket holders. This all started but did not end with a points-shaving scandal that involved nearly all the players on the team. The first game where points were shaved was on February 2nd. Tulane played Southern Miss on that night and were 10.5-point favorites. A Tulane student approached Green Wave forward Clyde Eads with a proposal. Win, but win by less than 10. The student and his fraternity brothers would bet heavy on Southern Miss to cover and then share the wealth with the players. Eads roped in 4 other players, including Metro Conference Player of the Year and the team's leading scorer and rebounder, John Hot Rod Williams. Tulane won 64-63, with the only starter not in on the fix, Marcus Hamilton, leading the team with 21 points and 9 rebounds. The players who did participate in shaving points received between $400 and $900. Later that month, Tulane was a 7-point underdog at home against Memphis State. This time, the players were told to lose by more than 7, and they would cash in on a big payday. The Green Wave actually took a lead in the first half, with Hot Rod outplaying Memphis's Keith Lee until he picked up his 3rd foul before halftime, a play that looked a little suspicious to a few sitting courtside. In the second half, Williams only scored 2 points, and he grabbed 1 rebound as Memphis State pulled away to win by 11. A week later, the 5 players involved split $13,500, with a third of that going to Williams. Rumors started to spread on campus that the Memphis State game had been fixed, and that the regular season finale against Louisville was going to be too, but no formal plans to actually shave points in that game were ever established. Tulane's season ended with a loss to the Cincinnati Bearcats in the Metro Conference tournament, with 15 wins and 13 losses. While things seemed to have settled, rumors continued to persist that players had been involved with fixing games. Local New Orleans attorney and a fan of the Green Wave, Ned Conkey, caught wind of the scandal and began investigating, believing he would prove the allegations untrue and dispel the rumors as myth. Instead, he began to uncover evidence that it was true, and he contacted the New Orleans district attorney. More investigation was done, and Eads and John Johnson were interviewed. They were given immunity for spilling it, and they did. The first arrests took place on March 26th, when Hot Rod, along with 2 other players and a student, were handcuffed and perp-walked past the media on charges of conspiracy to commit sports bribery. Tulane president Dr. Eamon Kelly started asking questions and uncovered other problems with the basketball program, including the direct payment of players by head coach Ned Fowler and 2 assistants. At that point, the men's basketball program was shut down, and the Metro Conference kicked Tulane out of the league due to men's basketball being a requirement for membership. The program would be resurrected in 1989, and they did rejoin the Metro Conference. As for Hot Rod Williams, he was on track to be a first-round draft pick prior to the point-shaving allegations, but the controversy surrounding him caused him to slip to a late second-round selection of the Cleveland Cavaliers. His eventual trial on the charges kept him out of the league for a year. When he finally did join the Cavaliers in 1986, he ended up making the All-Rookie team and had a 13-year career in the NBA. Hey, real quick, you've heard me talk a lot about the Sterling Soap Company over the past few months, and if you haven't tried out their soaps, I get it. It's not easy changing up your routine. But let me just say, if you give them a try, I'm nearly 100% certain you will have 0 regrets. They carry not only bar soap, but shave soap, liquid body soap, body lotions, beard balm, lip balm, and a lot more. Plus, there are myriad scents to choose from. Their products are made with natural ingredients and scented oils. and they are committed to being environmentally conscious. And I always get a handwritten note on my packing slip, so I know it's been checked before shipping, and it's a nice little human touch in a world that seems to be going away from that. Give Sterling Soap a try today at sterlingsoap.com. On this day in different years, there were some incredibly exciting finishes to some college championship games. On this day in 2016, it was the North Carolina Tar Heels and the Villanova Wildcats, locked in a classic. The final 90 seconds of this game were just a frenzy of activity. Down 6, Tar Heels senior captain Marcus Page drilled a corner 3 to cut the deficit in half. Then senior Bryce Johnson banked in a 2-pointer, and the Nova lead was cut to 1. The teams traded buckets, and with 22 seconds to play, it was still a 1-point Wildcat lead. A couple of Villanova free throws put it back to a 3-point advantage, and that's when the frenzy kicked it up a notch. Here's Jim Nantz and Bill Raftery with a call for CBS that night.
They're going to have to do something from the outside now. It's Page off balance. Puts it out. Impossible. How did he do that? Ties the game with 4.7 seconds to go.
Little guy with some major onions to tie this thing up. Incredible.
The degree of difficulty of that shot was off the charts. One, he had to wrestle the ball away from one defender going for a steal, then adjusted for another defender coming at him with a pump fake and lofted the shot over a third defender to hit the tying bucket with 4.7 seconds left. But of course, Nova had one last shot in the chamber.
With Archidiakono, 3 seconds at midcourt. Jenkins gives it to Jenkins for the championship.
Kris Jenkins' buzzer-beating 3 lifted Villanova to the 2016 national title, 77-74. On this day in 1983, it was the dramatic end to one of the most improbable runs in NCAA championship history. It was the Cardiac Pack of NC State versus Phi Slamma Jamma of Houston. Now, I've mentioned NC State's improbable run in several editions of This Day in Sports History already, their unlikely ACC tournament title that punched their ticket to the dance in the first place, surviving a double overtime scare against Pepperdine in their first-round tournament game, beating Ralph Sampson and the Virginia Cavaliers twice in the postseason. Well, here they are in the finals against a Cougars team that had only 2 losses, with their last one coming 3.5 months prior. Interestingly enough, that loss was to top-ranked Virginia on December 16th. They had All-Americans Clyde Drexler and Hakeem Olajuwon. In the pre-shot clock era, they scored points in bunches, averaging a little more than 82 points a game. They played the game fast and above the rim, and they were heavily favored to win this one. But the Pack came out with confidence. 6'11" Thurl Bailey went head-to-head with Olajuwon, putting up 15 points in the first 20 minutes to give State an 8-point halftime lead. The Cougars had another problem. Drexler picked up 4 fouls in the first half. Add to that, the Pack had been pretty good that season when they led at half, winning 22 of 25. But Houston was not really paying attention to stats when they came out of the locker room in the second half, and they went on a 17-2 run to take the lead back.
Ozell McQueen trying to push Olajuwon inside. Michael Young. 40-35. Remember, they trail by 8 at half, now lead by 5.
And they did it with Drexler sitting on the bench for the first 10 minutes of the second half with those 4 fouls. With 3 minutes 20 seconds left in the game, Drexler was fouled himself, and he went to the free throw line. He hit both, giving Houston the 52-46 lead. However, Houston would never score again. Sidney Lowe and Derek Wittenberg hit long-range shots to tie the game at 52.
Lowe, Wittenberg, he can tie it up. And with 1:54, it's deadlock.
Quick note, the 3-point shot was not in effect in this game, despite there being a 3-point arc on the floor. As I mentioned a few days ago, prior to its adoption for the '86 season, several leagues experimented with it. New Mexico from the WAC had been one of those leagues, and so their home court, the Pit, hosting the Final Four this year, had the arc. And I bring that up because the 3 shots that Wittenberg and Lowe combined to tie it up were all behind that arc. Houston's next possession, they slowed it down. Remember, no shot clock. State fouled Alvin Franklin. Houston was not a good free throw shooting team, and Franklin, facing a 1-and-1, missed the front end, and State grabbed the rebound with 1 minute, 2 seconds to play. After a timeout, the Pack went into a spread offense, playing for the last shot, and Houston went into their half-court trap defense, meaning they weren't just sitting back in a zone, they were going for steals, and they came close several times. But of course, you know what happened. Here's Gary Bender and Billy Packer calling the final shot for CBS that night.
This is a really interesting strategy by Houston. They're aggressive now, not staying back.
Well, remember, they have a team in there to block anything that goes inside. Down to 14 seconds.
Oh, almost stolen by Drexler. Boy, is he good at that.
They've got to drive to the basket. It's down to 7 seconds.
You can see the time. Wittenberg. Oh, that's a long ways.
They won it!
And here's what NC State's radio version of the game winner sounded like, with Wally Osley on the call.
10 seconds. Now Sidney goes to Bailey in the corner. 5 seconds left to Wittenberg. Wittenberg tries about a 30-footer. No good. Step back. Lorenzo Charles. State. Lorenzo Charles slams it in. A missed shot from 35 feet. Lorenzo Charles grabbed it, stuffed it back in. The Cinderella team has done it. The glass slipper fit. The Wolfpack has won the national championship.
And of course, that ignited one of the great celebrations as Jim Valvano ran around the court looking for anybody to hug. The Cardiac Pack pulled off the incredible, winning 3 games just to make the tournament and then 6 more to win their second national title in school history, 54-52. And one more thing that you may not know, or you may have forgotten about this game, after having 14 dunks against Louisville in the semifinal game 2 nights before, Houston, a.k.a. Phi Slamma Jamma, only had 1 dunk against the Pack, coming from Olajuwon in the first half. On this day in 1988, another surprise win in the NCAA title game, but this one isn't one that you talk about when you talk about tournament upsets. But according to Vegas, this was the biggest of them all. This was a battle of old Big 8 rivals, Oklahoma at 35-3, and an 11-loss Kansas team with the Sooners listed as 8-point favorites going in. And just for comparison, Houston was a 7-point favorite in '83. From an individual standpoint, this was Oklahoma's Stacey King versus Kansas's Danny Manning. The game was a track meet in the first half, with the Sooners bombing threes and Kansas answering on the other end.
Nice fake by Danny Manning. Sensational move.
He has exploded for 10 points here tonight. Now on the turnover, Manning goes for the home run. No more for the layup.
Can Manning do any more? He's had a game in the first 10 minutes.
Kansas hit 71% of their shots in the first 20 minutes, and it was tied at 50 at the break. The second half slowed down a good bit, with the Sooners going on a little bit of a run to take a 5-point lead, but Manning brought the Jayhawks back.
4 of their starters have played the entire game. Manning throws in a jump hook for the lead.
He then hit 4 straight free throws in the closing seconds to finish the game with 31 points and give the Jayhawks their first title since 1952 with the 83-79 win. On this day in 2021, it was the Women's National Championship game between Stanford and Arizona. Arizona was down 7 late in this one, but fought their way back into it. And when Arie McDonald hit a top of the key 3, it was a 1-point advantage for the Cardinal with 3:30 left. An and 1 on the other end put the margin back up to 4 with 2.5 to play, but Stanford would not score another point. But the Wildcats could not find the equalizers, and the Cardinal women won their 3rd NCAA title, but their first since 1992. Now, Stanford has a long and storied history in women's basketball, and this win was incredibly appropriate because also on this day in 1898, Stanford played Cal in the first intercollegiate women's basketball game. Stanford also won that one by a score of 2-1 in front of a crowd of 700 women. On this day in 1965, Sam Snead won a golf tournament, which in itself does not seem like that big of a deal considering that he won 82 of them, and when you learn that he won the Greater Greensboro Open, that also would not be a surprise. He'd won that tournament 7 times previously. What makes this tournament win so special, though, is that 1. It was Snead's 82nd and final win on the PGA Tour. 2. He was 52 years, 10 months, and 8 days old at this point, making him the oldest to ever win a PGA tournament. And 3. With his first win on the tour coming January 17, 1937 at the Oakland Open, it set the record for longest gap between first and last wins. Snead's 82 wins stood alone until Tiger Woods' unlikely win at the 2019 Zozo Championship to equal the mark. If Tiger happened to win one more tournament in his career, which seems unlikely considering his recent Achilles injury and the issues he's had with his back and injuries sustained from the car accident in 2022, but let's just say for kicks and giggles that Tiger has one more win in him, he would become the all-time winningest player on the PGA Tour and break Snead's record for the longest time gap between first and final wins. At 49, though, he still has a few years to go before he would eclipse Snead's other accomplishment set on this day of being the oldest to ever win. And it's time for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. Ever wonder why covered bridges are covered in the first place? Well, it's to keep them around longer. When exposed to weather elements like the sun, rain, snow, ice, wood deteriorates fast, and the lifespan of the bridge decreases substantially. Covering the bridge protects the wooden framework and the deck. By keeping the timber dry, the bridge's life is extended by decades. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.